York City is a major crime. Major crime. Major foreign globalist agenda that's looking to take money from the American people while replacing the demographic with foreign illegals and more African Americans that are just getting power amidst the chaos. African Americans are calling it the blueprint. I'm calling it a version of Sharia law, in which, since before the war, certain Middle Eastern regions were displaced into deep parts of Africa and Europe due to the Muslim sectarian religions, due to these different views of how the Quran should be lived on. People ended up in Africa, left their homes before we even bombed them. And this happened all throughout history as the means of how to replace a culture, right? And today I bring forth what's happening in New York City. I am a whistleblower of sorts, right? Whistleblow. Now I'm gonna bring forth the document that I created after being here over the last 3 years. But what's happening here, it's people have to be careful because what's happening here is not American. I mean, let me zoom into the document. What's happening here is not American. We're just going to dictate what's here. Witness testimony. Economic and demographic changes in New York City since 2022 and 2026. Dr. Roman Bonilla, for official use only. I have been coming in and out of New York City for several years throughout my life. Now, as a 40-year-old doctor, this is my witness and testimony of what has been happening in New York City over the last 3 years that I have lived here continuously. The city has been taken over, not by radical leftists, I would say, but by a piranha, an economic piranha, and has begun relocating hundreds of thousands of people out of the city. From this perspective, not only is food overpriced, but people are actively ensuring that a certain demographic pays more for the things that they need to consume in daily life. This is the reason I am whistleblowing here today. I have been documenting my experience in New York City over the last 3 years. The demographic has not only been aggressive towards me physically, but has gone beyond what simply being in the city used to mean. When I first arrived, people would aggressively point at me and tell cashiers to charge me more, saying that anything I touched was too cheap. That was the entry course to for newcomers, starting mid-June 2022. Oh, that's too cheap. He has to pay more. Items I items I purchased were rapidly overpriced or taken off the shelves. I began conserving my income and trying to save money in New York City, but that did not work. The demographic made sure they took what they wanted from my bank account and quickly. This this ranged from micro markups on items a targeted demographic likes, such as bologna and mayonnaise, to extreme examples up to 300% of markup. The issue is not just food prices. The issue is the weaponization of money in New York City which is encouraging people to leave in great numbers. Census records state that over 100,000 people, mostly Caucasian, have left the city. I disagree. I believe it is upwards of millions of people who have left or who no longer consider this place safe to hang out, backpack, or stay for a few years due to its overall instability and rapid demographic changes. During the Biden presidency, a sudden shift occurred. When I got here, there were many white people on the streets, many Caucasian families, many blonde women, many women everywhere. Once Biden moved in with the supposed buses full of illegal immigrants, the city emptied out. The demographic now resembles more of South Central LA, mostly African Americans and Hispanic, with some Caucasians here and there, but the effect is much greater than perceived. I have done my own surveying. I know there are large African American communities north of Queens, headed towards Connecticut and Long Island, as well as in Brooklyn. But the census has changed. The demographic shift has been drastic. As a doctor, I assert that many Caucasians or light skinned people have left the city due to this rapidly changing environment. This is not just an economic issue, it is a matter of safety and security. They do not want to be here. Over the 3 years after Biden era demographic shift, the city looks and feels like South Central LA without the coastal beauty. In California, you still have beautiful women, blonde women. As you go through downtown LA, you see poverty, Chicano communities, and African American neighborhoods. In New York City, we now have essentially only the downtown equivalent without the rest of the people who were once here. The primary driver is the predatory rising cost of living. Even with $500 in food stamps, $300 from EBT, and $220 from cash assistance, individuals still pay $500 to $600 out of pocket per month on average. That accounts for the 2220 deposit, meaning they are still paying 400 extra on top of state funded 500. To put it plainly, as a doctor eating once a day, my monthly expenditures amount to 300 in EBT, mostly for energy drinks, 220 of food, and an additional 400 out of pocket within a single month. This cost creates great psychological pressure on daily life. A homeless person or a backpacker pays the same cost of living as someone making $2,000 monthly. People who once lived off refuse and garbage bags from the sidewalk now pay upwards of 500 in cash in addition to any public service available. At the same time, establishments are using touch services to their advantage and disconnecting EBT services at affordable locations like pharmacy and certain retailers, places that are aggressively marking up prices by 200 to 300% over MSRP. As a business doctor, I see what needs to be fixed to stop the outflow. If they continue attacking our savings, all that will remain are the cashiers. And they will wonder where all their demand went. New York does not comprehend that people take 20 years to save a significant amount of money. Money the city tries to take from them month after month. If I am paying $500 to $600 per month and I took 20 years to save $1,000 a year, New York is effectively taking nearly a full year's saving every single month. When speaking publicly to individuals, I wouldn't call them formal interviews. People are calling what is happening to the city the blueprint. The blueprint among African Americans is described as a version of Sharia law. If you look at Middle Eastern countries before 9/11, people from the Middle East migrated into deep parts of Africa and Europe due to differences in the Muslim religion. What is happening in New York City is nearly identical to that former Sharia law from my perspective. Everyone knows the plan. Get rid of the poor by increasing prices. Continue raising the bar of who can stay based on what they can afford. In reality, it is a power grab, a major, major power grab that is displacing Americans out of New York City. This level of displacement is fatal. It happened as quickly as 6 years, starting with the Biden presidency, the demographic changes with the Biden buses. The second those buses arrived in New York City, the city emptied within months. You can measure how the New York of the past differs from today. Take a 5:30 or a 6 a.m. sample at 42nd Street in Midtown. 10 years ago, you could not be at 40th Street Station at Times Square at any hour, 24 hours a day. There were thousands of people there. Go now, any day, at 5:30 or 6 in the morning at 40th Street. There is nobody there. There are people who live in Midtown at 42nd Street who are not longer commuting. The same is across the entire MTA. Yes, millions commute from New Jersey through the Oculus, the PATH train, or the ferry. They work here and leave in the afternoon. But the real sample of the train rider shows far fewer people. This year, 2026, is a big one. There are not as many people commuting in the morning as there were last year. I was here. I can tell. The people who once took the train in the morning are either taking a bus, left the city altogether, lost their job, or relocated. This is the key takeaway. If you want to grasp how many people have left due to this form of Sharia law, using income inequality as a tool to get rid of people who cannot afford to be here, I believe it has had a massive effect. This is why I bring this issue to you. What is happening here is not American. The plan unfolding in New York City is un-American in nature. As with un-American plans, you are the experts in this. We have to stand against foreign plans executed by American people, plans that have no basis or foundation in the United States, based on what we represent as a whole. And that's what's happening here. This is what's happening here. As you know, what is happening in New York City? What's happening here is a power grab. And who's to the front? African Americans, BLM. They're the one headlining it, right? If you can manage it and white people are not involved and Hispanics are leaving the Bronx because there's too many black people, African Americans are the front line here. They are the ones with the blueprint. And the blueprint is get rid of us so that they could be in power along with their new foreign illegal friends. With their new foreign illegal friends. And New York City has been funding this fucking light with lots of money. They've been funding these illegal immigrants, giving them since they got here thousands in cash assistance, thousands in EBT. You know, what we need, what real Americans need to be here. They got the golden platter to stay here and not find out a new place to stay. They jumpstart their career here, while I'm losing $500 in less than 12 days, less than 9, across simple purchases. You see, that's what's happening here. And my father stopped helping me too. My father is one of them. My father thinks that a little job is going to solve anything. A job is not going to solve a $500 loss in less than 9 days of just eating and drinking. You know, that's not going to solve it. What's happening here is more criminal. And we have to investigate further the level of fraud happening here. It could be point of contact fraud, right? They're saying that they're charging you $9. The receipt, everything looks as $9, but the bank is being debited with a transaction they can't see. Ghost transactions on your accounts, right? They're master scammers. African Americans know everything about scamming. So we have to investigate, how are they draining these people accounts? You know, is it through some ghost? Do they know our routing numbers and our account numbers? And can they do damage to people's bank accounts without transactions being posted, right? Which is what people need to start observing, of why we are losing the amount of money that we're losing here in such a short amount of time. They're front running the project. So hopefully the people that I emailed today with all the documents, the FBI, the retail war, the FCC, FBI harassment of Caucasian people, right? Mutilations, abuse of white people out here. All the documents that I've documented, everything that I've documented over the last 3 years, to see if we get some traction and hopefully get some politicians involved to oversee and look what's happening. Have a second, third, fourth, fifth pair of eyes to what's happening here, because what's happening here is not American, without a doubt. What's happening here is the expansion of BLM. You know, we're in Sharia law now. We're being displaced. American people are being displaced out of New York City. And all it took was Trayvon Martin, you know, for them to turn the way they are now. The blueprint, right? A cannabis legalization, right? You could put a flow chart. I already given you the flow chart here on camera. Trayvon, police brutality, national television talking about black people nonstop, censoring conservatives. Identity politics comes out of that. Decriminalizing their crimes, right? Looking to stop them from being in prison. Kim Kardashian, Kanye West, during the first Trump presidency, they tried to put this in motion to try not sticking them in jail. And now they feel invincible. Now they're front running. Now that they're not being put in jail for bullshit crimes, they're not being targeted or profiled. Now they're front running something that's not American in New York City. Now black people are in support of what's happening here, because all they want is unity and absolute power. You understand what I'm saying? This is what's happening here. Oh. Until people catch up, until, you know, the right ears start ringing. Who funded this? Was it George Soros? Who was at the World Economic Forum? Who did it? Who paid for this movement? Who started? Was this BLM? Right? Is this a real terrorist network? Are we talking about real American terrorists here? Who is it? Who started this? Because It's not funny displacing American people out of where they live. That the conception of that is un-American in nature. Just reflecting on that is un-American in nature. You're not American if you want to take Americans that lived in the city and you want them to leave by overcharging them, abusing them, being racist towards them, doing the shit that's happening here. No, taking over their space, not thinking, and just by force moving places or whatever to get these people to this place. It happened. The blueprint. They mad proud of it. They're the front running, and they're gonna pay for that. I guarantee it. Because what's happening to New York City is un-American. They are going to pay for the blueprint. To get rid of the poor people so that they could get some power and squat. And no, they have to pay for residents. You're not gonna take the residents, the job, the power that the people that were here once held if they moved away. No, you still got to pay for what you got, for what you want. That's the system. You're not just gonna gain power, residence, status, a job by kicking other people out. But that's the logic. It's like a squatter. He thinks that because he filed some back taxes, or to say that he paid with some paperwork, that he could take a house that somebody took 30 years to build and maintain. And that's what's happening here. The blueprint doesn't even conceptualize that concept. That you have to pay for that. You have to work for that. That's not the people are going to leave. We're going to take over. We're going to take everything they got. Because what's happening is they're taking everything we got and quick. Like that. What the hell? What's happening here? They're taking everything we got faster than you could say, oh, I got a deposit. By the time the deposit gets there, they ransack your pockets. This is Dr. Roman Bonilla. Hope y'all have a good day. I already, left some documented video evidence for the people that I, pass the torch forward. And hopefully we start ringing ears. Get that wax out of your ear. Because this is what's happening in New York City.